when Ronnie Montrose had a major meltdown backstage at the festival Day on the Green. It was Oakland, California, 1978, and Steve Rosen, a well-known journalist who talked to practically every guitarist you can imagine, had to witness it. Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah.
He was in a mood. You explained that.
Wow. Man, that hurt, when he said those things to me. So, obviously, very famously, Sammy Hagar's the singer in Montrose. Me personally, I thought the first Montrose record is the best thing Sammy ever did. That's just me. I thought that was a great record. It was really, a blueprint in a way for kind of hard rock. In America, Ronnie was an amazing guitar player, great guitar player. So I'm at that same Day on the Green show, and I'm wandering around backstage. It's kind of like a common compound, and they had set up picnic tables, and for the band to come and congregate and hang out with each other, and they go back to their separate trailers. And if I was there a little early, because I was really there to see the interview Foreigner. I was doing that for Guitar Player. I wasn't there to do anything with Van Halen, though I knew they would be there. And Foreigner were headlining. This is now about 10:30 or 11. I knew Foreigner probably wouldn't come on until 3. So I was just hanging out. And, I'm walking around and I see Ronnie Montrose sitting in the corner, by himself. So I walk over and, he's kind of looking at me. I'm thinking, oh, maybe he remembers me, And I walk over and I go, hi, Ronnie, Steve Rosen from Guitar Player. I interviewed you, I think it was about a year earlier, I said, a year ago. He goes, yeah, man, I remember you. That's a fucking piece of shit article, man. You fucking lied. And, I'm really fucking pissed at you. I go, wow. I go, man, I'm sorry, because I remember the story in the interview as being really cordial. I mean, he never, had he said to me, hey, this interview's not right, I'm going to stop it. I mean, I would have stopped it in a heartbeat. I never, ever. And in all the times I've written stories, I've never had a writer say that to me. Yeah, I've had him say, hey, don't print that, in which case I never did. In fact, Edward did that a lot. But, had he said something like he was so unhappy with it, he didn't want it to come out, man, I would have shelved it for sure. So I didn't know what that was about. I mean, he was mad. I mean, man, he was mad to the point of like he was standing up, and was kind of, I don't think he was going to hit me, but he was mad, and I took it really, and I know when guys get that mad like that, it's like this, it's this disrespect with the same thing with Edward, that I had written this story, and why couldn't this Rosen get this thing right? And he doesn't care enough about my music, and all those things, go into the broth, and then it gets funneled and comes out as this angry guitar player. And man, I felt horrible. I mean, I really did. I mean, I never would have done that to somebody like him. I never would have done it to anybody. And then I later found out, actually, only while writing the book, that Ronnie suffered from severe depression, and he was on medications, and I don't know, man, was he on medications that day? Was he on medications when I interviewed him and he was in a good mood? I didn't know. Guitar Player put on a benefit for him a little while after he passed away. And Jim Crockett and Don Menn, the editors, reached out to me and asked if they could use that interview as part of the program, I said, of course, absolutely, man, I'd be honored to do that. But yeah, that was horrible, and then Ronnie takes his own life. I mean, God, man, the world is a weird place. I mean, he was, like a great guitar player, and, I mean, he was a great looking guy. I mean, he just, you think he has all these things. What could have possibly been? It's something we could never understand. Something, you could never see as an outsider. So,
well, you know what they say, don't go into someone else's brain, you'll never get out. And you can't. It's It's an impossibility. It's a cute little scenario, but there's 10 years of interviews because it's MP3s. No one did video interviews back then. So I have all my interviews from the 80s right here. I haven't even used them because I'm too busy doing this stuff, right? But anyway, do you still, two parts, do you still have the cassettes from those interviews and do you own them, or does the guitar magazine own them?
Yeah. I do have all of them. A lot of the original cassettes I don't have. I actually sold them in an auction, but I have copies of those. There's probably a dozen or so interviews I sold, the original tapes. But I do have copies of everything. And yes, I own everything. I was never on the staff of any magazine. I was a freelancer from day one till the final day. So there was never that, complication. Look, John, you can say you own that interview from '84 with Peter Frampton, and you could use it on your site. You could, make come out with a CD of it. Peter Frampton can say, you don't own that, John. That's my property, and he can sue you. Anybody can sue anybody. But at the end of the day, I've spoken to a couple of copyright lawyers, and yes, that's your property. You can do anything you want with it.
Oh no, I get that. Well, I'm glad you have that. You're going to put that. I checked out your channel, your YouTube channel. I'll subscribe when we get off. But you've got a lot of stuff you can put on there.
I have a lot of stuff. Yeah, the YouTube channel is just a tiny sampling. Me picking interviews I thought would be interesting, but I've never done an exact count. I'm guessing probably somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 hours. It could be more. You're talking about, almost 50 years of interviews. Yeah.
By the way, you look great for your age. I'm not just saying that. I know that's a thing people say, but holy shit, man. Like, I mean, if you graduated in the early I graduated in 79. I'm looking at you right now. I'm going, man, you've done something right.
Oh, wow. You're very kind. You just got a fan for life, John. Thank you, man.
Tone Chaser is the brand new book by Steve Rosen, who knew Eddie Van Halen going way back to 1977. It's a great book on so many different artists. Ronnie Montrose, an interesting run-in with him. Paul McCartney, Joe Cocker, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, most notably Bon Scott, Ritchie Blackmore. Now that's a colorful story. But mostly Eddie Van Halen, who he knew, like I said, going way, way back before the first Van Halen album was ever released. There's so much inside information in this book. It's one of my favorite books that I've read in a long time, and I really enjoy talking to Steve. His stories are magical, really. There'll be links in the description where you can pick it up. Remember, if you want to contribute to the channel, if you want to make a donation, there are links on every one of our videos to PayPal. You can make a PayPal donation. You can join our Patreon, get early access to all our videos. But remember, subscribe to the channel, like our videos, comment on them, and share them on social media. This is John Beaudin. More from Steve Rosen coming up in the next 2-3 days. This is Rock History Music. Take care.